All right. So we're getting into it. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay. We've been trying to do this for a really long time. I'm super excited. Oh my gosh. All right. So Matt, I I first just want to congratulate you honestly because for a lot of things, which is like a weird thing for me to even sit here and say to you because I'm obviously on the team, but like congratulations on just like being a fucking rock star. Like that's so broad and it's so general, but it's just so true. Like there's just so many it's a umbrella term for me because there's so many accomplishments that we'll touch on. But how'd you get here?
That's a great question. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and being surrounded by people like you,
Okay.
honestly.
So that's the quick and easy version of how you got here. Um, I want to know everybody has a turning point, and you shared your story with me on what that turning point was. But I want you to share it again, and it doesn't have to be that same one. But what was that turning point for you so far in your life that you were like, man, like, here's what life is, and I want more from it?
Got it. Are you referring to the Chick-fil-A
Yes.
story? um, so yeah, there's been a lot of turning points like in my life, in my personal and professional journey for sure. But in the mortgage space, one of the turning points, which everybody in the mortgage space knows, it takes 2 years to build a business, and most people either get out at that 2 year point or don't even start the business because people go, hey, come into the mortgage business. You're not going to make any money and you're not going to see success for 2 years. So nobody starts. So the biggest turning point for me in the business was I was in year two. I hadn't gotten a paycheck in 4 months. I hadn't
From
closed.
the mortgage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was also doing personal training on the side to supplement that income and pay my bills. But I had left a stable 60 clients on 2 year contracts at 25, making close to six figures a year to go to zero and start my own business. And I went through Chick-fil-A drive-through in Annapolis, and I'll never forget this moment for my entire life. Is I went there, ordered a chicken sandwich, went to pay, and my card got declined. I literally didn't have $6.50 to my name, and I've never felt so like embarrassed and unsure like what to do. And the gal at the line, she like just looked at it. She looked up at me and she saw obviously the like shock on my face.
Frantic.
Yeah, like I was just totally embarrassed. And she was like, "You're good. Have a great day." And I just like pulled away and I just started bursting into tears. I pulled into the parking lot and frankly, I was like, fuck this. What am I doing? I just left, I'm 25. I just left, finally grinding and growing my personal training business. And now I'm starting over again. And I actually called my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time. And I told her I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit. I literally will go back to personal training tomorrow and get 60 clients overnight. And she told me, no, you're not quitting. You said that you were going to do this. We're building this life together because she was also building a business at that time as well. And so she had similar thoughts too. And to this day, I look back on that and if my wife, who's going to watch this, if she would have said, hey, that's cool, quit, go to personal training, I would have drove to Lifetime that day and got my job back. I was that ready to quit. And she said, no, you're not. And that was the turning point in my business. And ever since that moment, I haven't looked back.
That's amazing. So I want to talk then about what did success look like for you at that time versus what it looks like for you now?
So I think I thought about today back then a lot. In my wife and I, we wanted to have kids, and that's what success looked like to us, was raising a family and being there for my children, not being an absentee father, and also building a great business as well. Like I wanted to do both. I was like, I don't want to be a dad and not build a business. I don't want to build an amazing business and not be a great dad. I wanted to do both. And so we really just, honestly, we like, reverse engineered what we wanted the job to look like based off the life that we wanted. So success to me looked like the freedom of my schedule to, if my son has something at school, my wife needs help at home, I want to do something with my kid and I don't want to go into the office. I have the freedom and I have no boss, nobody telling me what to do, the freedom of that schedule. That was number one for my wife and I. And we knew in order to do that, we had to either own the business, because that's who we talk to everybody that has freedom of schedule, and they either own their business or be 100% commission. And so I had to do one of those two things. And then the second was unlimited earning potential. So I've always, my entire life, since I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, I told my mom, she's the only one that I've ever really told this, is I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. And eventually it turned to I'm going to be a millionaire to my mom. She's the only person I ever told this. Nobody ever, heard that. And she would always laugh, right? Oh, that's funny. But I always knew that with that level of success, I could do the things that I wanted to do in the world, in my family, and give back. And as you know, philanthropy is a big part of my life and our business as a branch. So all those things we kind of looked at and we were like, we can't do those with our current job. So we need to make a change. So we looked back then, it's crazy to look now at what we wrote down, the things that we talked about. I always envisioned having 3 boys walking into Gold's Gym where we used to work out in Bowie. We would talk about that shit, and now it's going to happen. So I always feel like we had that vision of what we wanted our life like, and we just reverse engineered what that job looked like, what those people we wanted to surround ourselves to get us to that vision. And that's how we created the life that we're living now.
That's amazing. And a lot of people think, I love the reverse engineering part of it, because a lot of people think I'm going to use what I have to build what I can, instead of I'm going to just go ahead and work towards building what I can. And hopefully the things I need to have in order to do that come along the way, which is exactly what you guys did.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to be teachers or want to be doctors or want to be attorneys, right? And they want to be that thing. And then when they get to it, they realize, oh, this isn't the life that I actually wanted.
Yeah.
So I was always a believer in let's work in the life that we always want and reverse engineer back to what that job looks like, what that income, potential looks like. And that's then how you create the life.
I love that
you want.
Oh my gosh. So where did you go to college?
So I went to Drexel University up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And high school?
There. DeMatha Catholic High School.
Laxboro there too?
Go Stags, baby. My fellow Stags will be watching this. Yes, total Laxboro. Honestly, didn't really want to go to college or study anything. I just wanted to play lacrosse at the highest level, and Drexel was number 7 Division I in the country. And so that's why, chose the school.
What'd you major in?
I majored in business admin. I went there for 2.5 years. So I had that first. Drexel's a 5-year program. So you kind of you go to school for a couple of semesters and then you actually work. I was going to a job in Philly 9 to 5 and then coming to practice. It was kind of crazy, the life you live as a college student in Drexel. It prepared me for, work life. So I majored in business administration with a minor in entrepreneurship and small business management. Had no idea what I wanted to do, but I liked business and sales and working with people. So that's why I started it.
I love that. So you talk about this, you're a cancer survivor.
Yep.
And I think that is probably one of my favorite, in a crappy way, it's one of my favorite things. I think, you can't really say that, but one of my favorite things about you, because it was a one-on-one conversation that we had before I came to AnnieMac. And, it was when I basically committed, but before I really fell into the swing of things that you told me about this. So I want to bring it up because I think you don't talk about it, and of course you don't, but I think it's what fuels a lot of what you do and where you're going because of the stories that were shared during that time of chemo. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my senior year of high school, 2007, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. It is the fastest growing cancer that there is, but if caught early, it has a 98% survival rate. I did not catch it early. I had the cancer had metastasized into my abdomen, and I had a tennis ball sized tumor in my abdomen. It's kind of crazy to look back on it because at the time, I was 17 years old. I was racing as hard as I can to be a top Division I athlete in the country. I had 13 other Division I athletes on the team that were all pushing me, and I was in the best shape of my life. And my aunt actually has a picture of me with my abs, and she was convinced I was doing steroids because I had steroid belly, which is where your abdomen is pushed out a little, and it was because the tumor was pushing my abdomen out. And so we had that picture saved.
But this was before framed. You guys knew.
That was before we knew. It was 2 months before that. And I got diagnosed on November 7th. I got diagnosed. It was a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. I was at the gym. I worked at Gold's Gym at the front desk in high school, believe it or not.
Full circle.
Of course. And by the end of the shift, like super late at night, like I couldn't even stand up. Like my junk hurt. I don't know how else to say it. My balls hurt. It felt like a hernia or something like that. And so the next day I went to the doctor, nurse practitioner, and she, did all the tests and was like, well, honestly, if it hurts a little bit more, you should go to the emergency room. So that night it hurt a ton. Went to the emergency room thinking it was nothing. It was a hernia. I was in the best shape of my life. And that night, they said, hey, we found a mass in your testicle. It's 99% testicular cancer. And they were like, you need to get an orchiectomy and remove your testicle Friday. So Wednesday night I went in and they were like, we have to do this on Friday. Tomorrow you're going to go to the doctor. They're going to explain what testicular cancer is. And then Friday you're going to have your ball removed. So there was like, obviously, 7 million stages of emotion going through that. But honestly, like looking back on it, at the time I had no idea what was happening. I was 17 years old. I was invincible in my brain. Like I was like, okay, whatever they say, it's not me. You say I'm never going to play lacrosse again? Yeah, that's not me. You say I'm never going to have kids again? Yeah, but that's not me. So I really had this whole mindset the whole time as the doctors were saying stuff that like either I didn't believe them, what they were saying, or like, yeah, well, that's like what would happen to old people. So I got diagnosed, orchiectomy on Friday. I had to, most awkward experience of my entire life was banking sperm because they didn't know if it would affect my ability to have kids. And I was 17 years old. So that was very interesting. And then December 1st, I started chemotherapy.
Okay. So there's so much to unpack here. Did you ever think you were going to die?
No.
Not a single part of you.
I've never been afraid of dying.
No.
Ever in my entire life. I didn't think that, honestly, like the whole time, I just felt, at that time in my life, I felt like I was a superhuman. I'll just be 100%. Like I was at the top of my game in sport. I felt great with my family, my body, my health. Like there's no way that this could kill me. Even though they said, hey, well, it's metastasized. You have, I think it was like a 60% chance of living and then an 80% chance of not having children. So I never one time in my head did I ever think like ever that I could. I was working out in the chemo ward with IVs in my, like they would have to stop me from working out while I was just a fucking savage at that time.
All right. So I'm terrified of death. I've always been terrified of death. Recently, I've been on an Ed Milet podcast kick. He interviewed somebody who mentioned the happiest people are those in the world are those who pray 5 times a day to reflect on their own death, and not in a morbid way, but the reminder that you're going to die one day is like soothing to them at this point. So I downloaded an app. It's called We Croak. And 5 times a day, this app reminds me I'm going to die in the most like beautiful, poetic way. And it reminds you like when you die, you don't get to bring things with you in a like very beautiful, poetic way. So like give me your take on just death. Like make me not scared of it if you can in a minute.
Yeah, I think so it's not that I'm not afraid, but I don't let that fear dictate my actions and my decisions and overtake me and make me scared. Right? It's hard to explain that. I think that I understand that, and when you're diagnosed and the doctor tells you that you have a 60% chance to die, right? It gives you an interesting perspective on life, right? And I've just always been a big believer in that everyone's going to die. So I can either spend all this time thinking about that I'm going to die, or I can spend time thinking about what I'm going to do before that time happens and making sure that I squeeze every ounce of this life and this time that we have with people and this legacy that we can leave behind. Like I really, really like, I always say like to my wife, like YOLO, when we're trying to like think about doing anything, YOLO, we can't take it with us. Spend the money on vacations and trips and things for your family, because you never know, what that time horizon that you have on this earth is. And I've always just had this personal experience of knowing that I was put on this earth for something more than just me, right? And I even felt that in that moment. I spent time in the pediatric terminal cancer unit my first week in chemo, sitting with 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds that were dying of cancer. That was a transformational experience for me. I actually asked to be moved out of that unit after a week there. It was just so much on me seeing, those kids.
17-year-old invincible Matt.
Yeah, and they're like all like loved me. Like they were all, I had a mohawk and shit. So they were like, oh my God, who's this guy? Right? Like I would wear cutoffs into chemo. I was just a fucking savage. And then I went to, an older, like people in their 80s and 90s that were terminally ill as well. Like anybody that I was sitting next to getting chemo was dying, but I wasn't. So I told myself either I feel guilty, right? Of like, why me? Right? Why did they have to pass? Also, my aunt passed of breast cancer the week that I started chemo. She hit and had remission, and then years later, she passed from breast cancer. So, like, she was literally on her last day of chemo in the hospital as I had my first day of chemo. So I spent my first day of chemo as she had her last, and then years later, a year or so later, she passed. And so I had that, do I go into the why me? Like, why did I survive and other people passed? And so once I like got through that, well, then it's, you survived for a greater purpose than, just playing lacrosse and being put on this world to play lacrosse. And so that's when we started the We Believe Foundation, which helped teens and young adults with cancer age 15 to 25 that hadn't seen an increase in survival rate in 25 years back then in 2008. And we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, saved the lives. And I was doing that, in high school and in college, building that foundation. And so that's kind of what changed my mindset on death, was like, it's going to happen. You can either have the mindset over here, right? It's going to happen to everyone. And so people are either going to think this way or think this way and have a fulfilled, happy, grateful life while, pursuing those things prior to your death.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's a really crazy topic to talk about, because so many people have so many different perspectives on it. And I love hearing your take on it, because I always say this, and it might be my downfall, but I don't have anything really in my past. I mean, I came to America, I snuck in, but I don't remember that. Like, that wasn't traumatic for me. And it doesn't sound like this was traumatic for you either somehow. Like, it sounds like you just were like head on, like, this is what I have to do and I'm going to do it. I'm sure some pieces are traumatic, but I don't have that ability to like tap into something that happened to me when I was younger that fuels me. So I'm like weirdly creating it, by not really creating it. Because I really am a big believer in that you use your weaknesses to power you. And like, you use what happened, like that time of your life was so instrumental in you being like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to start a branch. Yeah, like I'm going to YOLO my way through it, and I'm just going to do everything that, I want to do. And I love that. And I love that story just because like, I'm sure you feel the way that you felt during times that you were probably talking to some of those people who were dying, right? And thinking like, that's not going to be me. So it almost, does any of that like fuel you still? Like, do you remember those feelings?
Oh yeah. It's made me the person I am today. Right. And I think what I realized was that helps in every aspect of your life, whether it's in business, whether it's in, your health, whether it's in your marriage, right? I've always been very stubborn in my personality of like, if somebody tells me that I can't do something, I'm just going to do it. And it's going to make me want to do it actually more if they say that I can't do something, or if they say, hey, here's the statistic, right? The average person that gets cancer or this. And I'm like, well, I'm not the average. So I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to, wow you. That's just been my whole thing, like my whole life. And so I like went through chemo with that chip on my shoulder. Like, I told Dr. Solonic that he's my fucking boy now, and he helped me build my foundation, donated a ton of money. He's, been instrumental in helping me and my brother, because, Aaron also was diagnosed and made it as a testicular cancer survivor as well. Yes, and has children. So I remember Dr. Solonic, the first time he came in and talked to me, and he deals with, people 70 plus, right? So he had really never sat down with too many 17-year-olds and 17-year-olds like me at the time. And he told me, Matt, like, we're just going to have to start changing your mindset. I just want you to understand that you have a 60% chance of survival. You are probably never going to play lacrosse again. And there's an 80% chance that you're not going to have children. Because that was the first thing that I asked when I got diagnosed was, am I going to be able to have kids? I don't remember that, but that's my mom told me. Yeah, like I've always wanted to be a dad. I've wanted to pour into children and boys, and I got that. I got three of them, and possibly counting.
Sorry, Tina.
But we might take that out for Tina. But our Dr. Solonic, when he said that to me, I'll never forget this. I looked at my mom, I looked at him, and I said, Doc, I don't know who you think you're fucking talking to.
Damn, 17-year-old Matt.
17 years old. I was like, but I'm going to play lacrosse, and I'm going to survive, and I'm going to be one of the top goalies in the fucking country, and I'm going to have children. And my mom yelled at me right there in front of him for cussing at him and being rude. But that was kind of the foundation of a great relationship between him and I. Was he was like, okay, this guy isn't a 70-year-old coming in here getting diagnosed just laying down. Like, it's not going to happen, Doc. I'm going to come into the chemo office. I'm going to be in a cutoff, and I'm going to be working out and getting yelled at for going to the gym. Because it's like, I remember one time my mom dropped me off, and they do your blood. And I was on pace to have a month to get ready for the lacrosse season my senior year. I finished chemo February 1st and started March 1st. So I was like, if I have a month, I can. Throughout chemo, I lost 39 pounds during chemo. I gained it all back in 1 month. I gained 39 pounds. I was doing 2 days, 2 Chipotle burritos a day, double protein
Those
a day.
Chipotle burritos will get you.
Yeah, it's like 39 pounds in 1 month. I gained a straight muscle. And so I had this regimented schedule. Like, I had like every day, right? I had to be, I went from 2.5 hours of working out to 2 to 1.5. Like, and if I could get 15 minutes in, it worked. But I went in to get my blood tested, and they were like, Matt, your white blood cell count is too low. We're not going to be able to give you chemo today. And my mom had dropped me off. And Sharon, the nurse, we became super close. I was like, I'm getting chemo today. And she was like, Matt, like, no, you're not. Call your mom to pick you up. And I was like, I literally
My mom's going to kick my
sold
ass.
her. I was like, she can't pick me up. She's got work all day. And if I don't get chemo today, it's going to throw me off 2 weeks, and I won't be able to make my lacrosse season. And she literally was like, her face, it was so conflicted. And she ended up taking the page that she had written all my blood and throwing it in the trash in front of me, and going and getting my chemo and putting that chemotherapy in me, even though my white blood cell count was low. And I went to the gym, which is like, thinking back on this, was I trying to fucking die? I don't know. Like, I had 2 Red Bulls too when I went to work out at the gym.
Oh my God.
But that was just like my mind was like, I'm going to get this goal. There's nothing that's going to stop me. And that's how I live my life, and how, support you and the team and, things, that we do in our personal life and our business. That's just my mantra.
Yeah.
And I live with that chip, on my shoulder, to this day. And it's like, I feel like every single person, whenever they hear no, they just accept it.
Yeah.
And like,
You can't accept
I've
it in this.
never done that. Like, I've always known that it's not no. It's just like I have to ask a different way to get a yes. And I've since 5 years old, I've been like that, and I've tried to instill that in my children. My wife is like that. She, to my detriment, she gets her way like 90 something percent of the time, but she's like that too. And I feel like that's how, you have to be when facing some sort of adversity like that, is you cannot accept that. And if those odds were to have worked out, well, at least prior to that, I would have been in a great mind space, and had a really grateful and fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And so that's my mantra.
I love that. All right. I want to end with this. So I'm sure you've heard the quote that you would die for your kids, but would you live for your kids? And it kind of wraps into what you've been doing recently, which is your 75 hard. Is this your first time doing it?
It's the third. I failed twice.
I love the honesty.
I failed.
Love the
Most
honesty.
people that I've talked to tried it, time or two. But yeah, this is my third time. I'm on day 70. So I got 5 days.
Oh my gosh. All right. So your biggest takeaway so far? I mean, you're almost done. So
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway is that you're in control. And I think that everyone always feels as though they, things happen to them, right? And not for them. And it has changed my entire mindset around the available willpower that we have as individuals. Like at first, like it's very hard. Speaking of chemo, honestly, I think 75 hard was harder than
Wow.
chemo. Like
Well-
chemotherapy was tough. But I just sat in a chair for 5 hours and got chemo. 75 hard is all day making decisions, and you have to have the willpower.
Yeah.
So it's like giving me control. It's giving me control over alcohol.
Do you miss alcohol?
No, I don't know if I'll drink again.
Okay. I love that we just recorded that.
Honestly.
I love that that's on.
I
video.
I see, so like I enjoy the social aspect of drinking, right? Like I like a good drink, but I hate the way that it makes me feel. And since chemo, honestly, I get terrible hangovers. Probably because I'm getting to be double the age that I was when I freaking did chemo. I can't drink as much as I used to, but I hate the way that it makes me feel, and I get terrible hangovers. So the day after you drink, you're in that little mental fog, right? You're not as best of a parent. You're not as best of a husband or wife. You're not, that important phone call comes in and you can't take it. The last 2.5 months for our branch too, as a whole, have been just so interesting in like so much on the line for every single phone call that I take. Like when you call me, I want to be Matt 700.0 A+. You're going to get the best of me. I don't want to be Matt that's hungover and that can't think of your problem that you're having or the strategy, or, hey, I had this conversation with this agent. What do you think? And so it's like just made my mind so much faster than it was before, because, over the last 75 days where you have, or everybody who has drank had, let's just say 10 days, right? 2.5 months, it's been like 9-10 weeks, 10 weeks. If you drink twice a week, which is nothing, one event during the week and one time on the weekend, you've drank 20 times over the last 10 weeks. And I have drank none out of 75 days. And so you've had 20 days where your brain is recovering and you're not eating as great. And maybe you forgot to do that task that you wanted to do because you were out and you were drinking. Like, I'll go out tonight, our team dinner, I'm not going to drink. And at 9:30 at night, I'm going to go work out because I hadn't drank, and I can get work done after too. So I feel like my progress, I've just been able to build. And also the reading has been awesome. Like, I never read, I just listen to podcasts and like I do Audible, and it's forced myself to, like, I put my phone down. It's 10 pages a day. It would probably be the number one recommendation I would have for people.
Reading a book, like
It's just
actually reading a book.
Yeah, actual reading. Like, people who have done 75 hard, like, they're like, oh yeah, listen to Audibles, but it's supposed to be physical reading. And the reason behind that is, like, you put your phone down, you put your AirPods down, you put everything down, you let your brain just kind of like recover. And so that for me has been the biggest, like, my brain's been able to like breathe a little and like expand, I feel like, because I've gotten back into reading. So yeah, it's changed my life. Like I
Reading and
won't,
alcohol.
yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. Like the other night, I was on day 68 and I didn't start my workout until 10:15. Start. So I had to do a 45-minute workout till 11 outside, and then another different 45-minute workout. I finished at 11:45. And so that mindset of like everybody wants to do these certain things in their life, whether it's I want to go to counseling to help my marriage, or I want to eat better, or I want to work out, or I want to make those calls to that new agent and get their business, or I want to sell this loan, but I'm tired. They aren't going to like me. I'm not good enough. And I still do that to this day, but with 75 hard, what I've realized is even though I have those thoughts, those feelings don't affect my actions.
Yeah.
I still do it.
Your goals don't care how you feel.
And that's your mantra, right? And we've created that, I think, over the last couple months is like, it doesn't matter how I feel. My goals don't care.
They don't give a shit.
My goals and dreams are going to pass me by, whether I feel like working out, whether I feel like being a better dad, right? Like it's maybe a better parent. Like I've gone home and been like, I don't really feel like going outside with my boys. I'd rather they're watching Minecraft. I'd rather just sit down, hang with them, and sit on the couch. But I know that's not what I should do. I should take them outside, practice lacrosse with them, bleed into them and put my phone down. And so it's made me able to like take action without caving into, as Andy Frisella would call it, your bitch voice. So he says that everybody has a bitch voice and a boss voice, and your bitch voice is going to tell you, well, man, it's 10:15, man. Like you worked really hard today. You worked out yesterday. You don't need to work out today, right? You're shredded. You've lost 35 pounds doing 75 hard. You don't need to work out today. And your boss voice tells you, hey, bitch voice, shut the fuck up. Our goal is to work out twice a day, and we're going to go do it. And I've been able to just quiet that bitch voice. I feel like, I don't know, it's just easy to conceptualize in your head is there's these two, angel and devil on your shoulder. And it's allowed me to like, I don't believe, just like the fear of death, I don't believe that for me, it goes away.
It will never go away.
Like that fear, and it's just always there for you. But yeah, I just feel like it's allowed me to be able to, defeat it and live in it, and be comfortable in that. Like be comfortable knowing that you're not going to become this like superhuman that doesn't have fear and that doesn't like want to not work out and doesn't yell at your kids accidentally or what, like, you're not going to be not making mistakes, but allowing yourself to, even through that, continue to move forward and progress. And I think, that progress over the perfection has been, I might do it again. Like I've thought about it now that I
might do it with you. Maybe we should all do it.
So since starting, there's been like 11 people that have started because of me doing it. And that's to my goal of legacy and, leaving behind more like the ripple effect too of, how that affects people's lives is, that's kind of what I wanted. And I didn't know that would happen, but, so I might, spend a couple days and eat like shit or whatever, but I might go back onto it because it just gave me such a regiment to stick to, a goal to focus on, right? And a lot of people that said like I couldn't do it too. And so it's like, you're fighting that challenge. It's an app too, and it's like you get to cross stuff off, like, and then it's like day completed. So there's this satisfaction of completing it. So yeah, I would encourage anyone to and it's only 2.5 months. Like you don't have to work out for a year and change your whole lifestyle. No, fuck that. Just go hard as shit for 2.5 months, and then you'll be able to maintain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, we got a lot of good nuggets in here today, and I'm super excited. We could literally go on forever, but we'll have to make sure that we do this again. And wait, what are you most excited about to have after your 75 days is over?
I thought you were going to ask me about the branch. What am I most excited about? Because I was going to say you. But yeah,
maybe a two-part question.
yeah, it's like I'm grateful for, and I appreciate the kind words that you said about me, but I'm grateful for people like you that make me better and make this branch better. Because I learned a lot from you too. You've taught me a ton and will continue to do that as you grow your business. And that's what I'm most excited for is, people like you seeing that and pushing us to do the podcast and seeing that and being like, okay, I'm going to do it. And, making everybody around you better, is something that is just a huge, huge skill, that it's not replicable. Like not everyone has it, it's you either have it or you don't. And so that's like, honestly, that's what I'm most excited for is seeing other people do it too. My kids have seen me, right? Like my kids have seen me be so dedicated to this. My wife, I couldn't do this without Tina. Cause like there've been times
of course, we all know that.
when I've been like,
she's boss.
oh shit, I got to go on a 45-minute run while she's putting the kids to bed or whatever. Right. Like you have to have that, support staff. And I know I've just watched you be an amazing mom and build your business, within doing that. And so that's what I'm most excited about is how this is going to, impact other people too. And it's changed the branch. I mean, even just looking at what happened over the last 2 months, like if you just look at, the people, the numbers, the data, things have changed in your life, in my life, in our branch. And I do not believe that that's coincidence. Like I believe that in order to change the outside world, you have to change, yourself, Biggie Smalls. Can't change the world unless we change ourselves.
Right.
So I believe that. I think that, when I, became healthier and started to read, well, things started to happen, to me, but it's not a coincidence. I would read pages, we talk about manifesting and I literally
could literally be like a whole podcast the way we've talked about it.
And we talked about this, how I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I literally, there's a page in Think and Grow Rich that tells you exactly how much money you want in your checking account that would change your life. And you're supposed to close your eyes and visualize it. And I did that in the morning, almost ate it on the treadmill because I closed my eyes and tried to visualize that. But literally that same day, an opportunity in a business venture that we're getting into came about, and the commission from that transaction would have that exact amount of money in my bank account, like almost the exact commission. And other crazy things happened while you and I were literally on the phone doing our quarterly one-on-one. So, I feel like it's pulled things towards me. We talk about this with our agents all the time is, we want to attract the business and the agents and the partners that we want. And I feel like I'm doing that to my personal self, is attracting the life that I want from being a better individual personally.
Yeah, I love it. And it's not a coincidence that we are fucking crushing it.
It's not a coincidence that you're close your best month ever.
I did.
And,
I did last month.
The branch is having some of their best months.
Absolutely.
So I don't believe anything just happens for a reason. We made that happen.
Yeah. And we're going to make more happen.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This is going to be exciting.
I
can't wait
it.
to get back on here soon. Well, thanks. Peace out. I'm just going to end it.